that I heard from a receiver who was in the meetings with the Ravens that Lamar was so hurt by the way they were treating him that about mid-season, and Richard will remember this game. Remember the Thursday night Tampa game, Richard? Weren't you there for that one?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So he balled out in that game. And I always say, I don't usually call many quarterbacks a baller, but Lamar's just a gamer baller. And in that game, he threw for 238 and ran for 43 yards and completely outplayed Tom Brady at Tampa, and they won that game handily. Well, it was 27-22. Remember, that was the game as Lamar left the field. There was that sign, I think we have it if we could show it, that a fan sort of dropped down about pay him, and Lamar was so moved by it, he picked it up. Yeah, pay him now. That he went back with the sign and signed it for the fan and handed it back up to him because he appreciated it so much. But Lamar was just so crushed by all this that he wouldn't even participate in meetings. And usually I'd be the first to say, come on, you got to do it for your team. But I was on Lamar's side here because it was clear he had done enough to earn a deal. And I thought he would have gotten that deal before last season started. They could have paid him then, but no, they just let it fester and simmer and finally sour all through the year. And remember, the last 5 games, Lamar just said, I ain't playing. And I didn't blame him one bit because he had a knee issue, but I don't think, again, they had a playoff game at Cincinnati. They did make the playoffs, and they had to go with Tyler Huntley at quarterback, and they lost, obviously.
Lamar couldn't play in that game. And here's what I would say to that, though, Skip. You got to remember, Ozzie Newsome is still in the building.
Yeah, he's not completely in charge the way he used to be.
He's not in charge, but he's in the building. What I mean by he's in the building, Eric DeCosta, the general manager, they lockstep. He's not going to allow him to do this quarterback wrong in terms of, moving on from. No, he has influence in the building.
But remember, this went to the top. This went to Steve Bisciotti. This is more of an owner issue than a general manager issue.
Yeah, but the relationship is so strong there. The influence that Ozzie has with Steve Bisciotti and Eric is just tremendous. So I understand what you're saying and Richard's saying about the collusion side of it. I am of the belief that they were never going to let him out of the building because you can't replace him. 2 first-round picks, that ain't nothing. What are those picks, 28 and 32? That's not what it is. And then when you say, well, they didn't believe in him, they drafted him. They literally drafted him, Skip.
Well,
the same
after
staff.
everybody else said no to him.
This is not a different staff. This is the same staff that drafted him.
Okay. Remember what had happened? Go ahead, Richard.
With the Baltimore Ravens and Ozzie Newsome, you have rarely to never seen them let one of their foundational pieces even get close to free agency. They've always been great about getting their guys sewn up before it ever gets to that point where things get contentious. They say, hey, Ray Lewis, whether it's Ed Reed, whether it's whoever it was, the greats of this franchise. The greats, well, that's all they didn't have a great quarterback.
No, but I'm saying
even Flacco. Flacco, when they had Flacco, they gave him his deal before he ever got to any kind of situation like this. And so instead of doing that with Lamar, you said Ozzie Newsome is lockstep with DeCosta. It doesn't seem that way because Ozzie Newsome has never done this and put anybody through this kind of process, especially your franchise quarterback.
But you're dealing with a different level of money versus Flacco, though. You're dealing with $100 million versus $300 million. There's a different level there.
Yeah, but it's a different level with every single quarterback that's going to get negotiated with right now. That's just the point of the conversation. It's not
on top
like,
of that,
oh, this is an astronomical. He's not even the highest paid quarterback in the league right now.
He's not the highest paid quarterback because he's happy with his money. He's happy.
No. He was at the time, but Patrick Mahomes has the escalator that always, no matter what, he'll go above whoever is the top at the time, which is perfectly fine. That's the way the Kansas City Chiefs work. But I can never see that's value. That's a guy where they say, hey, this is our franchise quarterback. We would never want to frustrate him. Hey, if somebody gets 52, we'll give you 53. If somebody gets 55, we'll give you 56. Every team is different,
man. They negotiate. They're all different.
But this was a lack of appreciation.
It was.
Imagine a quarterback winning an MVP in this league and then having to fight for his life to get the money he deserves. To fight for his dang life to get the money he deserves. He won an MVP on a rookie deal.
See,
and then had to go to the table.
I don't think he had to fight for his life. I think in the end, it's all a negotiation. This is big boy stuff. This is not small little kitty stuff. This is big boy stuff. I understand when you look at what Cleveland did with Deshaun Watson. They backed the truck up. They needed a quarterback in 50 years.
Okay, but that could have happened when you risk putting Lamar out there as a restricted free agent. Is there another Jimmy Haslam out there? Because you're going to risk that he's just going to plunge and say, I'll take Lamar. I'll give him whatever he wants, and I'll give you whatever you need in the draft picks. That you
but
get.
they are
Somebody puts
smart
together
enough.
an offer sheet that you can't match. If somebody gives him $60 million per year, fully guaranteed, and you cannot come and match that, you have risked that by letting him be a restricted
There's no
free agent.
question about that, Richard, that there is risk. But much like we started this conversation just from the collusion standpoint, these billionaires are billionaires for a reason. Okay, they communicate with each other, whether you want to believe it or not. They do communicate with each other. They knew Jimmy Haslam was kind of off the rails when he bought the team in Cleveland, that he might do something. They understand that Tepper in Carolina might do some wild stuff in terms of hiring and firing and bringing. They know this. They all know who's what. For many years, the Maverick in the National Football League was Al Davis. Every owner understood, let's not cross him because he's getting ready to do something to have us in court, whatever. They all know who it is. They knew that Jim Irsay was never going to put an offer sheet together for Lamar. They knew that. Like, they just know these sort of things. There's only 32 families and owners. There's only 32 of them.
But they're not. Look, as somebody who's negotiating and sat at the table across from them, they are not lockstep on a lot of these issues. And so if Patrick Mahomes became an unrestricted free agent today, or a restricted free agent today, you'd have 10 to 15 teams putting an offer sheet in, and I don't care what the conversation would be. Oh, well, we're not going to put it. I said, this Patrick Mahomes is on the table. Y'all done lost your damn mind. You're not going to tell me how to run my franchise, how to run my team. I own this team, and that's how they are about a lot of things. So it's weird that a guy who's won MVP, and he's the only guy in recent memory that I can remember, Skip, maybe you can correct me.
No.
That has ever been a restricted free agent. His team has allowed him to get to this point.
Dumbfounded by it. Richard, speak to this because you have negotiated for yourself. Lamar, with some help from his mom, was negotiating for themselves against Steve Bisciotti. How sticky can that get?
It gets more sticky and awkward for the GMs and ownership and the head coach than it does for the player, because the player, you still got to deal with it either way, whether your agent is telling you what they're saying or whether the GM and the owners are telling you what they're saying. So it gets awkward for them because they don't want to man up and look you in your eye and tell you, hey, this is what we're offering. This is why we're offering it. This is the same conversations that they would have with your agent. They don't want to have with you because they feel awkward. They feel weird. So they try to dance around it. They try to sugarcoat it. And so that's why they don't like to deal with players, because players, it's a matter of fact business. Like, tell me the truth. Like, we deal with it all the time. Keyshawn, you can attest to this. You go on the film on Monday after a Sunday game. Yeah. And you got to watch the tape where you drop the pass, or whether you caught 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns. You got to listen to it and get corrected, and then go on about your day. You can do the same thing in these negotiations. Hey, you didn't do this well during your career. We didn't see. We don't know if you can do this. This is why we're questioning this. Your durability has been an issue. So correct. This is why our offer is this, and why we're trying to protect ourselves in the back end with this type of structure. Mm-hmm. Okay. Cool. It's not that crazy. It's not rocket science. But when they're talking to agents who they're familiar with and who they're buddy with, then they can go have a beer and sit at the bar and be like, hey, you know Lamar been beat up. You know such and such and such and such. It's just a different kind of dynamic that they're more comfortable with. So that's why GMs and owners and head coaches don't really like players.
It was pretty, like, when I left the Dallas Cowboys, Skip, it was pretty easy for me with the Carolina Panthers and Marty Herney to do my deal. We did it at the Westin Hotel at about midnight.
Did you do it yourself?
Did it myself.
Did you?
It was a napkin.
Okay.
I can't do this, but I can't do that. I can't do this, and here's the numbers, here's the deal. Okay, fine, that's good enough for me, I'm happy. So it all depends on who you are. Now, Lamar's deal obviously is mammoth, it's huge. So it takes a lot of strategic moves. let's not get it twisted. Lamar had advisors. He had a legal team of people that just couldn't talk to the teams, but he could take the offers to them. They could look through it.
He was going face to face.
But he was going face to face with them. And it probably, like Richard said, communication gets a little sticky sometimes because, you know, bringing up injuries and bringing up interceptions and turnovers.
Just remember the previous year, 2021, he had missed the last 4 games with an ankle injury, okay? So they're saying 5 years? The way you play football, the way you run with the football, should we risk 5 years of this? And in the end, Lamar won. It took all the way to April 27th after the year was over, but he got what I think he wanted in the beginning that they could have given him many months before this.
Well, I don't know the structure. We again, as I said, we don't know what was really going on inside. We don't know the structure. We don't know any of that. For all we know, the numbers might have been $260 million, but only 100 of it was guaranteed versus 185 of it guaranteed.
But you mean what they were asking for? Or
no,
whatever?
what they offered him initially, you know, so we don't really know.
Yeah.
Richard knows how these deals are. All of a sudden, there's a slide in an escalator that didn't look right. Then he can't take that. Or if you take us to the AFC Championship game, here's the amount of money. And he says, well, no, I want to be able to just get the divisional round, not the AFC Championship round. They're saying no. I mean, these negotiations are tense. They are in the situations where feelings do get hurt, Skip. In the end, he's happy with the money that he got. I'm happy for him. He'll be back at the table in 2 years.
You think so?
Absolutely so. He's going to win the MVP this year. He's going to win the MVP this year, probably take him to the Super Bowl, win or lose, and then they'll be talking to him in 2025.
I hope so.
But then, I mean, I hope so, too, because the way they did him right there, I didn't like it.
Ooh, neither did I. And I think Lamar is sort of getting even with his own team right now, as well as the rest of the league, just saying, okay, watch what I do now. Now that you paid me, I'm going to show you I'm still underpaid. And